Welcome to a special presentation video of An Evening with Robbie the Robot. I'm honestly not sure why we're wasting our time. Obviously, I am everyone's favorite cybernetic hero.
Pardon me, sir. I don't think so.
Whatever. Movies. Music and monsters. Hey my friends, Dan Monroe here from Movies, Music, and Monsters, and today's show might be a tad shorter than my usual Saturday afternoon fare, but no less mighty, and it's all because right now I'm literally down in Missouri as a guest at a super cool event called Show Me Space at the Space Museum and Grissom Center, but never fear, I got you covered today with a special super cool presentation featuring none other than Robbie, everyone's favorite Hollywood robot. Ahem. What's the matter, robot? Jealous? Jealousy, a human emotion. I am a machine. Then what's your problem with Robbie here? I do not like him. Hate is not an emotion you possess. I do not like him. Robbie doesn't present any danger to you. I repeat, I do not like him. Okay, don't get your wiring all knotted up. You're just gonna have to deal with it for the next few minutes. Fine, but I'll expect an apology with a box of chocolates and some lovely flowers. Have Robbie run them off, and I expect them no later than tomorrow noon.
Of course. No problem, since you're too inadequate to do it yourself.
Why, you little... Anyway, as I was saying, just this past April at the Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills, California, there was a special screening of Forbidden Planet.
A really super cool event that totally sold out in no time.
Giving viewers both young and old the rare opportunity to see this unbelievable sci-fi classic once again on the big screen, and to top it all off, the event was hosted by none other than Robbie the Robot himself.
On stage in all of my cybernetic glory for everyone to enjoy.
I think I'm going to be sick. Robbie here, of course appearing courtesy of master robot builder Fred Barton, who also introduced the show. I really wish I could have been there myself, but right at the last minute, this guy had a virtual meltdown, so typical, told me that if I went, he would intentionally blow out his voltage regulators and zap me with 40,000 volts. You clearly made the right choice. Energy circuit deactivated. Anyway, the entire event was not only a huge success, I even heard rumblings that they may just be doing it again in the near future, so stay tuned for that. And luckily for us, the evening's festivities were immortalized on video and edited by Fred Barton's son Joe and shot by Fred's youngest son David, a real family affair. Sounds to me like Nepo babies in action. How predictably droll. Silence, ninny. The young Bartons spent about a month putting together a really magnificent segment featuring Robbie the Robot that preceded the film, which I'm going to share with all you guys in just a second. But before we get to that, I'd like to take a brief moment to talk about the original Robbie the Robot himself.
At least there's one robot in the room worth discussing.
Don't make me come over there. Now, believe it or not, Robbie here was actually restored by an extremely young Fred Barton. I think he was like 17 years old at the time. Crazy, and it's really quite the remarkable story how all that went down, but I think I'll just let Fred tell it.
I've always been interested in robots, really ever since I first saw Forbidden Planet on TV. My dad had bought a color TV, and it was NBC Night at the Movies, right? Like Tuesday night at the movies. And I was watching this film, And then Robbie comes out, and I go, oh man, I've got to have this thing. In 1973, I find out that Robbie the Robot is on display at a museum called Movie World. When MGM went into the casino business in 1970, they had that huge auction, and they auctioned off Robbie for $10,000, and a guy named Jim Brucker bought it, put it in his museum, and there's Robbie and his vehicles just standing there. And I'm looking at this thing, and I go, hey, I can make this. So I start taking a lot of pictures of the original Robbie, hop the ropes so I can go measure him as well, because there was absolutely no security there. This was really the downfall of Robbie, too. There was so much wear and tear on the robot from souvenir hunters pulling off his ears and all his stuff. He was just starting to really look like hell. He was hunching over. So make a long story short, I built a Robbie walking suit. So I took my walking suit to Movie World, and the owner comes over to me because he's seen me hanging at this museum over the years. He goes, oh, man. I go, yeah, this is what Robbie's supposed to look like. I had all the detail corrected, everything. And he goes, hey, can you make my Robbie look as good as yours? I'm going, what? Take mine and restore it, make it look as good as yours, and then do my whole museum display. So I had him for several months. And anyway, it was just a hoot. But that's just a little preview of what happened with Robbie the Robot.
How truly wonderful.
How vomit-inducing. Come on, seriously, how cool is that? Not only to have your hands on the original screen-used Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet, but also to have the opportunity to restore it. I don't know, I guess some dreams really do come true. Fred may be uber-talented, but not talented enough to ever restore the likes of me, the most famous TV robot of the 60s. You do realize, of course, that Fred also restored the stunt robot from Lost in Space, your twin brother? I said you do realize, of course, blah, blah, blah. You guys should get a room.
Mind your manners, or you'll lose your friends.
Anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you an evening with Robbie the Robot. Enjoy.
Hello there, everybody. We are seeing the 1956 classic Forbidden Planet.
Big round of applause. Fred Barton.
Ladies and gentlemen, the robot of the Forbidden Planet. Robbie, turn right. Now left. And back to center. Actually, interesting story about this Robbie. This is the first Robbie I ever built 50 years ago when I was 16. And here he is, still going strong. And I want to send a shout out to Dan Monroe, who put the commercial. That's why we're all here. All right, thank you. Have fun.
Welcome to the Fine Arts Theater, everyone. I am to transport you to the residence. I am Robbie the Robot. Come with me now on this spectacular Flights of Fantasy event and my special behind-the-scenes look at what really happened on the Forbidden Planet, Altair 4. Consider this a riveting TED Talk, and give me a break if I leave anything out, as I drone out this programming for 9 minutes. But before our journey begins, I'd like to give a special scan out to the robot man himself, Fred Barton, for schlepping me here, and whose tireless efforts have brought so many celebrity robots to life and into people's homes for the past 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm often asked at these screenings how a robot makes it in Hollywood. Put it this way, my name used to be Reuben the Robestein. Just so you know, nothing happened on Altair 4 that I didn't know about. They don't call me the Mr. Belvedere of outer space for nothing. Remember when Cookie asked Doc if I was a male or female? Fact is, I don't use gender fluid. It promotes rust. And for the record, Cookie drank all 60 gallons of that genuine ancient rocket bourbon and died of liver failure on the voyage home. But I digress. Let's talk about the ill-fated Bellerophon expedition. The year was 2224 AD, an election year, as I recall. Trump was in his 52nd term. United Planets sent a prospecting party of scientists to Altair, which is like 100 trillion miles away from the Fine Arts Theater. You know, they didn't take the 405. The ship lands, they set up camp, and after the first day, Morbius, who just couldn't sit still, sneaks off with his new wife, Julia Morrison, who was pregnant, by the way. While on a nature hike with the tiger and the deer, they discovered a cave which had access to the lost civilization of the Krell, which was deep underground with no overnight parking. Young Morbius and his bride got all caught up in the Krell lifestyle with their mid-century architecture and their swinging bebop music. They wanted to stay on the planet as Morbius, a philologist, an expert on words and languages, finally had a reason for coming along. He was able to decipher the Krell language and the incredibly complicated Krell recipe for tuna noodle casserole. Needless to say, after several months, the other members of the expedition were totally sick of eating tuna noodle casserole every night, especially since they were out of Malox, so they voted to return to Earth. This angered Morbius, as he and Julia longed to stay on Altair 4, far from the scurry and strife of humankind, whatever the hell that meant. One day, Morbius and the Bellerophon skipper were experimenting with the Krell stereo and put on these crazy headphones, and bam, it proved instantly fatal to the skipper. Undaunted, Morbius the genius decides to try it the next day because why not? He put on the headphones and manipulated the controls. Suddenly, a 3D image of Nikita Khrushchev appeared in the aquarium. Exhausted, he passed out for a day and a night. He woke up the next morning with a stiff neck and discovered he had doubled his intellectual capacity. Coincidentally, moments after the brain boost, one by one, in spite of every safeguard, the entire crew of the Bellerophon were torn literally limb from limb. It was like watching Gladiator 2. Only Morbius and Julia were immune because they smeared lamb's blood over the Krell door. Now, Morbius, equipped with his artificially expanded intellect and a set of bootleg MGM blueprints, had the know-how to tinker me together. Honestly, it was the only cool thing he ever really did. Only now I get to do all the work. I built the house and hung the steel shutters for all the good they did. I even built him a Waffle House on the south side of the planet, complete with flying chairs and synthetic butter. Morbius was always calling me a simple tool and had me install that household disintegrator beam. Then he had this running gag. "Robbie, put your arm in there. Go on, put your arm in there." After about a month of that, I told him to put his tool in there. Anyway, after I finished painting the house the happy couple moved in, and Julia gave birth to Altera. Flash forward 20 years, United Planets sends a relief mission to see what happened to the Bellerophon. Morbius calls them up while they're still in orbit with this get-off-my-lawn attitude and warns them off. But Commander Adams refuses to turn the ship around after traveling through space for 378 days. So he lands his wobbly flying saucer back in the desert near the Waffle House. And Morbius always stretched the truth. Remember all those Bellerophon graves he showed the commander? He said he dug them with his own hands. Not true. I did. Morbius just sat around watching Forbidden Planet and eating tuna noodle casserole. And as for Doc, it wasn't the brain boost that killed him. It was the Disney Channel. Morbius also told Farman that the big machine, 8,000 cubic miles of Klystron relays, was for mining Krell coin. And then there was Altera, my little blonde surfer girl. What a honey. Honey West, that is. Thing is, she never knew any human being except her father. And she sure loved clothes. She had me making her a new dress 10 times a day. Every one of them was see-through. She must have thought she was going to the Krell Grammys, but puberty struck her hard, and by 18, she had a great set of C-57Ds. Long story short, Morbius had an epiphany and realized he murdered all his co-workers and friends and was way behind on the light bill. So what else is there to do besides blow it all up? The commander and Altera pack and make a beeline out of there. I hitched a ride back to Earth with them. Commander Adams married Altera. But wait till he finds out she's carrying the id monster's baby. Now will someone please give me a lift back to the robot actor's home? I hear it's tuna noodle casserole night. Good night, folks. Enjoy the show.
Hey folks, it's a robot time for Mr. Robbie the Robot.
Well, I certainly hope everybody enjoyed that super cool presentation of an evening with Robbie the Robot. I know I did. Who knew that Robbie here was also a stand-up comedian? Is there anything this guy can't do?
Thank you. My pleasure.
40,000 volts activated. And my friends, that presentation is just the tip of the iceberg. Coming up really soon, we're going to be taking an extremely highly detailed deep dive into the restoration of the original Robbie with stories and photographs that you've never heard or seen before. It's going to be absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait to share it with all you guys. And if that weren't enough, Fred and I are collaborating on a presentation of the Lost Kinoshita tapes, an extensive interview with and about Robert Kinoshita, his life as a premier studio art director, and his relationship with the Hollywood elites, and how he created both Robbie and Blinky here. Blinky? Really? Only my closest friends can call me that. Oh, I see. So what can I call you? You can call me...
So uncivilized. No wonder they call you the bubble-headed booby.
This isn't over yet, Chrome Dome. I really hope you guys enjoyed that evening with Robbie the Robot presentation, and if you did and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a whole bunch of new videos coming up really soon that I know you guys are just going to dig. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always buy us a coffee. Link in the description. And please feel free to stop back anytime as we together continue the conversation on movies, music, and monsters. Movies, music, and monsters. Danger, danger. Hey guys, real quick, according to my YouTube analytics, surprisingly more than half of the people watching this channel are not subscribed. So, if you could do me a huge favor, please hit the subscribe button. It only takes a second, but really helps this channel grow. Thank you, my friends. You're the best.